Another in the daily series of half-hour interviews known as Bywords on KET. This week, it's my privilege to be the host. My name is Milton Metz. I'm normally with WHS and pleased to be doing this on and for KET, especially so because my guest is Denny Crum, the distinguished head basketball coach of the University of Louisville, which, as many of you know, whether you're basketball fans or not, wears the laurel of the #1 collegiate team in America. There are many good coaches, Denny, splendid coaches, who've gone through a whole career without ever winning the NCAA crown. Now, we know there are many more important things in life than winning basketball games, but on the other hand, when you've been to the top of the hill and you're the #1 team in the nation in anything, it's an unparalleled honor. You're a very young man, and I suppose a lot of people say to you, well, Denny, how are you going to top that? But I suppose right now you're still savoring the #1 pick.
Well, Mel, I've tried to savor the experience, but it's really difficult because everybody wants to know, what have you done lately?
Right.
I think the feeling is with 4 starters back that, at least with our fans, is that we ought to win it again, and I'm glad they feel that way. I feel that way, too. We'd certainly like to do that. But you have to be a little bit realistic in this business. We started out last year, and I honestly didn't feel that we had a chance to win the championship. I felt that we had a chance to beat some of the teams at the end of the year that had a chance to be champions, but I didn't think we would be able to play that many games in a row that well with such a young team. And then after Scooter McRae got hurt in our 3rd game of the season at Tennessee, there went one of our 2 returning starters, and now we're down to just Darrell Griffith and 3 sophomores, and we moved Rodney in there, and everything just kind of fell into place and gelled, and we ended up winning the whole thing. It was kind of an unbelievable experience. Sports Illustrated didn't even pick us in the top 20 in the preseason, and this year there'll be a lot more pressure, I believe. We'll be ranked in most people's top 5 in the country probably, and everybody will be shooting for you, which is where you want to be. I guess it's a lot better to be on top with people shooting at you and on the bottom where nobody cares.
People are very interested in coaching techniques, because coaches now have become, what with TV programs that they do and interview programs, and the way sports has become so important in many people's lives that coaches become personalities, that Tom Lasorda, you know, of the Dodgers, or a Bear Bryant, or the late Adolph Rupp, or the explosive Bobby Knight, the controversial Bobby Knight. And so they become media stars. And the variety of coaching styles is as wide, I suppose, as there are individuals. Now look at you. I don't see any gray hairs on you. I don't see any furrows under your eyes. I don't get the impression, after all the years I've known you, that you're a churner, that you're an ulcer maker of your own. Are you fooling me, or is that a pretty good expression of what you are?
Well, I've always felt that I've been able to keep my things in my life in perspective. It's certainly not the end of the world to lose a basketball game. There are some people that feel like it's the end of the world. I don't like to lose. I'm a very competitive person. I think anyone that's successful in this business has to be very competitive. There's nothing I enjoy better than a good victory and a job well done. But by the same token, you have to be honest and realistic. There are other good coaches. There are other good programs. Everybody has good teams today. There's so many teams that are capable of winning it. I think you just have to be a little bit honest and realistic. You do the best job you can do. You work as many hours as you have to work. You get to the point, I think, in your life somewhere along the line, at least most people do, where your priorities will change a little bit. I've had a lot of opportunities, I think, to go other places, maybe make more money than I've made here, but I love living here. I love Louisville. I love Kentucky. I love the whole style and atmosphere. It's a lot nicer way to live for me than it was in Los Angeles. You don't have all the hustles and bustles outside your job that you have. So it's been a lot easier for me to concentrate on my profession and to do a good job, and without the additional pressures that you have in living. And I think that's made it a lot easier for me to be a little bit more relaxed in my own, be myself, and not maybe show the outward pressure that sometimes you feel inside. Last year, I was asked when we won it, how did I feel? I honestly felt I had a feeling of tremendous relief. More than the joy of winning, I had a relief, a feeling that hey, can you believe this? We're going to win this thing. When Derek Smith hit those 2 free throws late in the game and put us up by 4 points, the feeling of relief was such, not that the pressure was so great because no one thought we should be there. Nobody thought we had a chance to get there. The pressure wasn't as great, I think, from outside as the pressure you put on from within. So I just had the feeling of relief. Jesus is fantastic. I mean, I don't know how to accept it. I mean, it's
Did you feel also, honestly, I deserve this? The boys deserve this?
Well, I felt there's no question that the team deserved it. There wasn't another team in the country that overcame the handicaps that we did in terms of scheduling, in terms of having to play 7 of their last 10 games on the road, losing your tallest player and one of your 2 starters, only returning 1 starter and playing 3 sophomores and a freshman.
Did you at any time think, for the rest of my life, no matter what happens to me, whether I'm hit by a garbage truck, whether my wife throws a fish at me, whether I lose my job, for the rest of my life, I can say that I won the National College Association, Athletic Association Championship for basketball. Nobody could ever take that away from me.
That's true. No one can. That's why I think it's such a feeling of relief when you point your whole life into a profession and you reach the top at any point within your professional lifespan. The feeling of accomplishment is tremendous. You can't help but be proud about it. It's not something that's easy to do. Everything has to fall into place and turn out perfect. There's no way today to predict. You could go back 10 of the last 15 years and you could predict UCLA was going to win the national championship, and they did. Yes. Because they were so clearly dominant over the other teams. But in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, that's not been true. You can pick 20 teams that could win it, another 50 that can beat any of those, and you can see that it's to win it today is a lot tougher than it used to be. If you remember back up until this past year, we had 32 teams in the NCAA. We used to go back to 16. Right. And at that time, you were getting the top-ranked teams in the thing, the top independents and the conference champions. And then they went to 32 and allow you to pick second-place teams in your conference. Now we're at 48. So you not only get the best teams in the country that are the best all year long that win their championships, the teams that are the top ranked, but you get the teams that are maybe not quite as good a records, but are playing better at the end of the year than some of the teams that are ahead of them. For example, last year, UCLA finished 4th in their league. They made it all the way to the finals. Iowa and Purdue were 3rd or 4th in their league, and yet they're 3 of the 4 teams in the national championship Final Four. So you get the teams that are playing the best along with the top-ranked teams, and it makes it a lot tougher to win.
Denny, I have a rather cynical friend who says, oh yeah, listen, you get a coach who gets a bunch of 7-footers and they give them a good education and they tell them they got a nice dorm and they get them all to come and they're fast guys and they're jackrabbits and they're good jumpers and they pass and listen, they put them out there and of course they're going to do very well. Basically speaking, on a 100% basis, what percent is the contribution of the coach and what percent is the contribution of the team?
Well, that's a hard thing to answer, Milt. Only thing I can tell you is there's a lot of schools with great talent that don't win. You can't win without good players. No coach can. You can win maybe more games than you should. You cannot win a national championship without good players. But you also can't win it without a good coach. I don't know how you place a percentage on it. I've never seen a team. I've seen a lot of teams with great talent that I thought, boy, they are awesome physically. Right. But they just don't play that well together because it is a team game and there's so many factors involved. Coaching is very important. I'm not trying to blow up my role. I mean, honestly, you can't win without a good coach. You can't win without...
Is he half of it?
I don't know. You could say he's 98% of it and be right in some instances because the best talent in the world can't win without him. But you could also say he's 2% of it and the 98% is the talent, and then the coach just gets them doing the right things. How much of a percent that is, I don't know. I just can tell you, you can't do it without both.
All right, let's take for granted that you're like a talented young man, a tall fellow, agile, healthy, not overweight, quick hands, whatever those expressions are. Do you like a yes sir, no sir kind of kid working for you?
Well, to a point, you have to have some semblance of discipline. Discipline is different to everyone. To some coaches, it's that's what it is. You say yes sir, no sir. When they say jump, you say how high, and that's discipline. Right. To me, that's not discipline. I don't believe in discipline in that sense. I'm not the Army regimented type of a person. I believe in a freedom of will and expression and contribution, but by the same token, discipline to me in a basketball team is doing in the games what you do in practice. If you have fun in practice, if you're loose and relaxed and you're a running team and a pressing team, and you play loose and relaxed and run and press, that's good discipline. Because in order to win, you have to get your players doing the same things in the games against the top opposition that you get them to do in practice. It's where you find that they can't do the same things in the games is that you try to get them in practice, that you have poor discipline, then you can't win.
You don't mind a laugh in practice?
No, I think it's great. Practice can be drudgery. You're out there 2 or 3 hours running your tail off and doing a lot of drills and things. If you were just out there playing games, then you're not learning anything, and you're not doing the things. You're not going to do the things that are going to help you win. So you have to drill and drill and drill and repetition, and it can be boring at times. It can be frustrating, and you have to, I think, have a little levity and a little freedom of expression and stuff. There's a time and place for everything, and a laugh at the expense of yourself, I think, is good in practice. You know, a kid falls down, and when there's nobody around him, and we say, "Oh, did that black line get in your way? Did you trip over that line?" I mean, you know, you keep things loose and relaxed. I've not been a yeller and a screamer. Some coaches yell and scream, and that's their way, and they do very well doing that. I'm not that way.
And some of them actually, you know, lay a hand on their players.
I've seen it happen, yeah. It's not my style. Everybody has their own things. You have to do what you do best, and I think I'm capable of getting the most out of my players without that type of thing, and I wouldn't want my son to play for someone that did that, but by the same token, that doesn't mean they're not successful, because there's a lot of coaches that are that way that are very successful.
Who are very oriented to regimentation, aren't they? I
yes,
mean, the
and
silent
there's
drill.
Some coaches that believe in coaching and teaching and making players react out of fear. There's a couple that are pretty well known that do that. They get their players afraid to make a mistake. In other words, they just because of the abuse they take when they do.
Right.
And to me, it's a game. It's a profession to me, and it's very important to me. But the actual contest is a game. It's a contest between 10 young men at a time that are out there trying to do their best, and to put the kind of pressure on them that some coaches do, I think, is unfair to do that to young people. I think that they put enough pressure on themselves. Their peers put a world of pressure on them. Just when they walk around campus every day, "Oh, you guys really stunk it up last week, didn't you? I mean, you were terrible." I mean, that puts pressure on young people. I think the good players, the ones that have an honest interest in getting their education and playing basketball, will put a lot of pressure on themselves and be successful if they've got enough ability without the other pressures.
I take it you wouldn't object to one of your players questioning you about a tactic?
No. I think during the games, you only get a minute or so at a timeout, so you don't have room there. You have room sometime for suggestion. You don't have room for questioning of your decision. Right. But in practice, it's a different situation.
You don't mind that?
No, I don't mind it at all, because I think if a person understands what you're trying to do, he's going to and agrees with you in the sense that hey, this might be effective, then he'll do a better job at it if he understands it. If he doesn't understand it, he's going to question it in his mind, and subconsciously that's going to affect his effort. So I want them to understand what we're doing. If they don't, I like them to ask questions, and we talk about it, and I show them why and how we're going to do it, and I think it works better that way.
You know, Denny, most of us, whether it comes to the stock market or picking a team or a wife, want some wise person to say, if you do this, you'll succeed. If you'll pick this, you'll get the girl you want. If you get this stock, it'll go up 3 points. Now that Denny Crum and his team have won the championship of the NCAA, do you not find a lot of coaches and a lot of people in sports who come to you at clinics and at speeches and say, Coach, tell me the secret. How do you do it?
Sure.
And they expect you to turn over a winning formula to them.
It's interesting because I've done a lot of clinics over the years, and I've been on the clinic tours, you know, quite a number of times. In fact, probably too many times. Spend too much time away from home. But I've done it because I've always felt that anything that you get something out of, you ought to be willing to put back into it. And my profession has been good to me, and I try to put as much as I can back into it. But it's interesting how much smarter a lot of people think I am this year than I was last year. They think I must have read a book last summer or something, and now that I've read the book, I'm a better coach. But it comes down to a combination of coaching and players and being willing to give to each other and play together, and a lot of good breaks, or at least no bad breaks. I think sometimes you don't get a lot of great breaks that help you, but
they want to know the secret.
Yeah, and you spend time, you do these clinics, you spend 2 or 3 hours, and then they're lined up in the hallway after you're done and want to talk to you personally about this and that and the other thing, and that's good, because I think that's why one of the reasons our profession is advanced to the point that it is today. It's really come a long ways in the last 10 years. There's a lot better coaching going on at the lower levels today because of the clinics and things that are involved, and younger players come in, for the most part, the majority of them, better prepared than they did 10 years ago.
Do you find anybody who comes to you and say, Coach, may I tag along at your heels and attend your practices for a month?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we get them coming from all over Europe, from Italy, and all over the world, coming in and spending a week or two at our practice, just sitting there watching and then
taking notes?
Taking notes and sitting through your practice planning sessions, and which I don't object to at all. We have a lot of the local and coaches from, we have them come from 200 or 300 miles, come in and sit and watch practice, which I don't object to at all.
Want some of it to rub off?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't wonder. You and I have talked about this, and we've done many radio and TV programs, and you have a facility for radio and TV, and you've taken it at school, and you have expressed to me privately that someday you would go more full-time into broadcast. We know you do commercials for local sponsors, and you've done commentary for the Metro, and I think you're very much at ease at it. In the face of all that, Denny, what do you think about sportscasters on radio and TV today?
I'm like, I guess, most fans. Some I like better than others. I've always, excuse me, had a lot of respect for the people that are in that field. It's not an easy thing to do. People that haven't been involved in it don't know what it's like when that camera's pointing down your throat. It's a different ball game, and I've had a lot of respect for them. It's something that I've always had an interest in myself, and hope maybe someday when I get out of coaching, maybe like Al McGuire or something like that. Al McGuire is a very controversial one. I've told Al personally that I think someday he's going to get a good coach fired because he is very opinionated, and which is good. But Al McGuire, in a sense, is very different than most coaches. He succeeded in coaching by doing things differently than 95% of the other coaches in the country could or would do. And when he makes some comments on television about, they should take a timeout, or they should do this, or they should do that, or you can expect them to do this, and when they don't, he's surprised. Those kind of comments, to me, because it's Al McGuire, everybody takes it as the gospel, when in reality it's not always the gospel or the way that it should be done for that particular team. He's like a lot of fans. He sees them play on Saturday night. He doesn't know what preparation and what went into the week's practice or the month's practice or the year's practice, and so he doesn't know a lot of times what they're trying to do. Consequently, he has no real basis in fact for knowing what should be done by that particular team and coach in that situation.
How do you like Cosell?
Not very well. He's certainly knowledgeable. It's just, I think the thing I dislike about him is that he's always right. Nobody can be always right, but he is knowledgeable of sports. He's got a great backlog and memory of things that have happened in the past, but his whole attitude and demeanor of being all-knowing, I think, kind of turns me off.
Would you rather see a sportscaster not make judgmental calls, critical remarks?
No, I think there's a place for being critical, but you know, hindsight's 20/20. It's a lot easier to be critical after it happens. I mean, a comment before something happens, sometimes a well-placed comment shows a lot of you know, foresight and knowledge into the game and what's going on. I think that can be good if it's done in good taste. I don't think it's the place of sportcasters, and one of the reasons I don't like Cosell is he is overly critical, I think, of almost everyone. And to me, although you got to give him credit in one sense, he is also very complimentary when somebody does something well. And maybe, I guess, that balance is good. I think there's a place for criticism, but I think there's also a place when it shouldn't be given.
One of the big revolutions in sports and athletics and physical exercise in the last decade, Denny, has been the emergence of the woman in running, in jogging, in doing vigorous, if not violent sport, short of boxing, where sometimes it's freakish, but going into basketball, into you're seeing the best tennis played ever now by women in the whole history of women's sports, in golf. The runners are numerous all over the country, millions of women, hundreds of thousands of women are running. What do you think about that kind of movement and women in sports?
I think it's about time that women have some of the same opportunities that men do in sports. A woman certainly, for the most part, cannot compete with the man in contact sports and at the professional level. But women in the everyday life level can compete with everyday life men and compete in a very, I think, positive way. I've always enjoyed, I don't enjoy the competing to try to beat women, but I enjoy participating with women. I think they have just as much of a place in this society and in the sports world as the men do. They've always been deprived. I think there's somewhere along the line the dollar and cents value has to be stuck in and say, hey, we only have, like at the universities, Title IX has provided women with educational opportunities scholarship-wise to compete in athletics, and I think that's great. But there's somewhere along the line that they've got to realize too, I think, that until they can produce an income to expect the outlay to equal that of the men, when the men produce the money, the income, and the women don't, somewhere along the line you've got to reach a happy medium. But I think the competition for women is great.
Denny, why aren't there more or any women coaching major universities and major sports?
Probably because their backgrounds, women's athletics hasn't been such over the years that there's that many women that are qualified to be at that level. It's still a matter of making money, whether you like it or not. The dollar plays an important role. If you have a program that loses $200,000 or $300,000 a year, how long is that university going to support that program? I mean, somewhere along the line, they've got to say, hey, we can't afford to be throwing that money down the hole. You've got to support yourself. Women don't have the same backgrounds that men do in terms of participation of sports, so their knowledge of the games are not as great. Now, there are exceptions, and there's some outstanding women coaches.
Will there ever be a major coach in a major university?
I think so. I wouldn't surprise me at all. Some of the women today, I think there's some outstanding women coaches. How well and how long it'll be before we see a woman president, we see women in the legislature and in the senates and things. I think we're going to see them in major athletics too.
Denny, what's your personal relationship at this time with Joe Hall and Bobby Knight?
I have no problems with either one of them. I think Bobby Knight has a twofold personality. On the basketball floor, he's an extremely intense person. Coaches a lot different than I do, but I'm not being critical of his ways. He's different than I am. Off the basketball floor, he's just the same as anybody else. He's a nice person. He likes to fish and he likes to read. And I mean, he's no different than the rest of us.
Do you have an ongoing personal relationship with him?
Yeah, we don't see each other socially, but I mean, we see each other and we're friends, acquaintances. Joe Hall, I have a lot of respect for Joe, just like I do for Bobby. He's an excellent coach, does a tremendous job, and because I think of the rivalry, the non-existing rivalry between us and Indiana and us and Kentucky, since neither one of them will play us, I think that probably in itself precludes us from being close personal friends, but there's no reason why we couldn't be. I think we both have a lot of the same interests. Joe Hall and Bobby Knight and I all like to fish. Now, I don't think Joe plays golf much, but Bobby and I play golf. And I mean, we have a lot of the same interests outside of sports, and we're all coaches, and we've all won national championships, which I think there's only 5 active coaches in the country today that have won national championships. So we have a lot in common, but yet we don't see each other that much. We're all too busy in our own little realm.
Could you spend an evening comfortably one-on-one with either or both?
Oh, sure, I have. As a matter of fact, before. Joe Hall and I both...
I know some people try to drive a wedge, and you are different personalities in different schools, but there's a lot of backstage talk about that, and one wonders about it.
Most of it's in the press and with the fans. I think we get along fine. We don't have any personal problems or anything with each other. I could be just as easy around them as I could most of the other coaches. They're nice people.
Denny, what's your chief self-indulgence? What are you extravagant on about yourself?
I really don't think, Milt, that I'm extravagant in anything other than in the off season when I have free time, I like to play golf and fish. Those are the things I enjoy probably most of anything. I'm not very extravagant, I don't think, at anything. My wife's always on me because I don't go out and buy some new clothes or do this or that, but I tell her if she wants me to have them, go buy them for me. I'm not interested in shopping. I don't like that kind of thing. I'd rather be working on my farm or fishing or playing golf or doing something when I have free time. And we go about 8 months out of the year when we have no free time. We're at 7 days a week between the coaching and the recruiting and all the other things.
Very good. Denny, thank you very much. I appreciate being with you out on this lovely autumn day. We're into the basketball season, and the best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Denny Crum, the head basketball coach of the #1 basketball team in America, the University of Louisville, Milton, Metz.